Welcome back to Passionately Catholic. I had an experience that I want to share with you, and it's put me on a bit of a journey that I'm on right now. That experience was maybe a couple of years ago. I was reading an article on Facebook shared by a good friend, priest of mine, Father Bob Gross. Great guy, okay? And also really devoted to the spiritual life. And the article was about how Catholics really don't have a lot of great exposure to the spiritual life, that really we wouldn't even need all of us necessarily need a spiritual director individually to be able to make some really big progress, that we all really just need some basic formation in the spiritual life. And it really got me thinking, like at the time I'm reading this, I'd been teaching Catholic high school theology for maybe 13, 14 years. I had a master's degree in theology for over a decade. I was a published author, Catholic speaker, professional Catholic speaker as well. And I'm going, this really resonates with me. Like, I feel like there is something more out there that I haven't learned, that I haven't been taught, that I haven't had the opportunity to put into practice. There's something deeper, right? And even in myself, that there's this longing for something more, for a deeper, richer, more intimate, it's probably the word I'm looking for, a more intimate relationship with God. Right? But how do I pursue that? What does that look like? And I didn't have really any strategies for prayer life. How do I grow in that? What does that look like? I'd heard about some of the spiritual classic books from the church, but I didn't really have a framework from which to go on to understand them. Like, which one would I start with, and do I need to find a spiritual director? And there aren't necessarily a lot around. So I started to dig in deeper and to try to look for some resources to wrestle with this. Well, this is when I started working on my second master's at Franciscan University of Steubenville in catechetics and evangelization. And I saw what I'm starting right now, summer of 2023, I'm starting a course on Christian spirituality. And I'll tell you what, it has been really, really impressive. And thanks to a couple of good friends of mine for recommending another book that's not part of the course that is really helping me get a framework for Catholic spirituality. It's by Ralph Martin, and called The Fulfillment of All Desire. And he takes a look at kind of some spiritual theology, but also Christian spirituality, especially looking at spiritual truths that we get from some of the masters of spirituality from our Catholic tradition. But here's the thing, I was awakened to this longing for something deeper, something more. Like, I had studied theology, I was familiar with theology, I share theology and inspire and evangelize and all this stuff, but there's something missing. Okay, so here's a question that I want to ask, okay? Why, how does someone who's a devout Catholic, okay, who evangelizes and teaches, get to the point of having a master's degree and not have any formal exposure to Christian spirituality, Catholic spirituality, the rich traditions of prayer, of intimately falling more in love with God? Have anybody share with me really the pathway for how to do that? What does that look like? Why did I kind of have to stumble upon it and, feel this longing, this sense, of wanting more, okay, to finally start digging out there for myself to try to find it? And, here's this class at Franciscan, for example, which is starting off fantastic. I'm really enjoying this class, but it's kind of like an afterthought class. Like, it's an elective, you don't have to take this one, and I'm just absolutely drawn to it. Now, maybe it's just me that I wasn't ready. Maybe I just wasn't ready, and the Holy Spirit knew that, and maybe now's the right time in my life to really get serious about pursuing growth in the spiritual life and this spiritual path. But I think it's a disservice to us as Catholics that this is so buried and so hidden. I mean, I had exposure to some prayer groups, some Catholic, even charismatic groups and stuff like that in the past, and some good priests who've shared certainly a number of things with me, which has been, a blessing and wonderful. But where's the formal training on some of this stuff? And maybe I'm totally misunderstanding the spiritual life, because, digging into it more sincerely and more deeply is pretty new to me, okay? So maybe I'm missing something, but, basic spiritual theology, I think, should be a foundation of what we're taught. And I'm completely reevaluating the things I teach, and even the evangelizing that I'm doing that this needs to be worked into this more, that we really need this. So here's my question, okay, or maybe a couple of questions. Just let me vent for a minute. Is this in Catholic schools? Is this in our religious education programs? Did I just miss something? Or do you also feel like maybe you didn't get this very much? And if not, or if you did, where did you get it? Where did it come from? What made an impact on you? Comment below. Are there titles of books you'd recommend? What diocese are you from? What part of the world are you from? And where were you fed spiritually? How did you get this? Please help me, help others figure out how maybe we can do this better. Or if I'm totally misunderstanding something as a real, novice isn't even the right word, just a nascent, baby, infant in the spiritual life, what am I missing? What am I misunderstanding? Help me out on this. So one more thing that I do want to share with you, almost forgot, this would be useful, is I did have exposure as an undergrad to St. Francis de Sales' spiritual classic, Introduction to the Devout Life, and read that, and it was really profound for me. So, and that was even back in 20 years ago, way back in 2003. So I did have some exposure to the spiritual life. I had a seminarian friend, actually, it was in my one semester as an undergrad out at Franciscan University of Steubenville. Why is the only way I'm being fed by this at Franciscan? What is the deal with this? God bless what's going on at Franciscan. Apparently the Holy Spirit is alive and well and active and working at Franciscan. But so I've read that book, and in fact, I spent about a little over a year and a half making a series of videos on Introduction to the Devout Life on this channel, on Passionately Catholic. So you can go back, find those videos, and I'll walk you through Introduction to the Devout Life and the great things that I benefited from and learned from that. And that was a big part of the reason why I did that series on Introduction to the Devout Life, was I felt like we need more spiritual formation, more spiritual theology and Christian spirituality on all of this stuff, for our spiritual growth, especially as Catholics. So you can check it out. There'll be a link below in the description. You can also go to anthonydigmann.com/IDL for Introduction to the Devout Life. anthonydigmann.com/IDL, and you can sign up and you can get emails from me every day, and I'll send you each of the new videos in a series. There's 123 videos, so that can take you about 4 months if you want to start now, and I'll send you an email every day with a new video. So they're anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe up to 19 minutes, breaking down Introduction to the Devout Life. Most of them are probably around 10, 12, 15 minutes or so. So a great way to spend our day together, you and I, reflecting on Introduction to the Devout Life and the spiritual masterpiece that St. Francis de Sales shares with us in that text. So again, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you again in the next episode.